So factoring is a review for everybody. You guys did this probably back in algebra, so maybe math 9, math 10. So let's review. So let's go through the rules here. Greatest common factor. So factor the following polynomials by finding the greatest common factor. And remember, the greatest common factor is the greatest number that goes into both or all terms. So I'm going to do 1, 4, and 7, and then you're going to finish the rest in this section. So let's see. A variable must be common to all terms to be a greatest common factor. If a variable is common to all terms, take the one with the smallest exponent and then divide all terms by the greatest common factor to get the remainder in parentheses. Okay, so let's look at the first one. So we're trying to find the greatest common factor between 3x and 12. So if I look at 3x, the factors of 3 are 1 and 3. 1 times 3. Now, if I look at 12, the factors of 12 are 1 times 12, 2 times 6, and let's do 3 times 4. Okay, so which number is the greatest that these two have in common? Well, they both have 1 in common, but the greatest one would be the 3. So we're going to take out a 3 out of each one of these terms, and we're going to do that by dividing each term by 3. And we're going to put the 3 over here. Everything else is going to go in the parentheses. So when we divide 3 by 3, it cancels out and we just have x left. Plus 12 divided by 3 is 4. And there we go. That's it. That's our answer. This is how we find the greatest common factor. So there's our answer. Highlight that so we know that's the answer. And that's all we can do. Now, let's look at number 4. 6a squared plus 27. So if I'm not sure, I can write out all the factors of 6, which would be 1 times 6, 2 times 3. And then I can write out all the, this is of 6. I can write out all the factors of 27. So 1 times 27 and 3 times 9. And that's it. Those are the only factors of 27. So again, the greatest common factor is 3. So I'm going to put my 3 off to the side. You can set your parentheses up if you want. And I'm dividing each by 3. So when I divide 6 by 3, I get 2. I didn't do anything with that a squared, so it's just going to come along. 2a squared plus 27 divided by 3 is 9. And there's my answer. Okay. Now, 7 looks like a jumbled mess, but that's okay because we're going to look at the numbers first. Okay, so we're going to break this down. We're going to focus on the numbers first. So let's see, 12, 36, and 6. So I'm going to write out, down below, I'm going to write out the factors. So the 12, the factors of 12 would be 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. Then I have 36. The factors of 36 would be 1 and 36, 2 times 23, 3 times 13, 4 times 9, 5 doesn't go, but 6 times 6. And then the factors of 6 would be 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. Okay, so now I'm trying to find the greatest factor here. Greatest common factor in 12, 36, and 6. And when I look through, 1 is a factor, 2 is a factor of each, 3 is a factor of each, and 6 is a factor of each. 6 is my greatest common factor. So I'm going to take that out. And again, we're going to do this in steps. I'm going to take that out and I'm going to put that here. And then I'm going to bring everything else that I have left in parentheses. So I'm going to divide each of these numbers by 6 to get that out. So I have 12 divided by 6 is 2. I'm going to just bring my a to the 5th, b to the 2nd down. Minus 36 divided by 6 is 6. A to the 4th, b to the 3rd. Minus 6 divided by 6 is 1. A to the 2nd, b to the 2nd. Okay, now let's go through and do the a's. So I have a to the 5th here, a to the 5th, a to the 4th, a to the 2nd. I can only take out the least amount. So in this case, it's a to the 2nd. I can only take out a to the 2nd. I can only take out 2 a's. So I'm going to bring my 6 down. I'm going to put my a to the 2nd in parentheses because that's what I'm going to take out. That is the greatest common factor of all of my a's. So with that, I'm going to bring my 2 down. Now I'm going to take a to the 5th and I'm going to subtract it by 2 because we're taking 2 out. So a to the 5th minus, and I'm subtracting 2, so it's going to give me a to the 3rd. Now I'm just going to bring my b squared down because we're going to get to that in the next step. Minus 6, and a to the 4th, I'm subtracting 2 there, so I have 6a to the 2nd, bringing my b down, b to the 3rd, minus 1, and a to the 2nd, so 2 minus 2 is 0, so I don't have any a's left there. I'm just going to bring my b to the 2nd down. Okay. Now I'm going to my b's. I have b to the 2nd, b to the 3rd, b to the 2nd. The greatest number I can take out of each of these b terms is b to the 2nd. I can't take out b to the 3rd because this term doesn't have 3 b's to take out. So I can only take out 2 b's. So again, I'm going to write my b to the 2nd out in front of my parentheses. So I'm bringing down my 6, a to the 2nd. Now I'm putting a b to the 2nd there. Okay. Excuse me, I'm bringing everything else down. 2, a to the 3rd. Brought that down here. B to the 2nd. When I subtract 2 from my b to the 2nd, it cancels out. I don't have any b's left. So minus 6a to the 2nd. I'm just bringing that down. And when I subtract 2 here, 3 minus 2, I have 1 b left. So I'm just going to put 1 b in there. Minus 1. And then when I b to the 2nd minus 2 is going to cancel my b's out. So that's going to cancel that out. So I just have 1. And that is the answer. So my suggestion would be to do that in steps and then highlight your final answer. Okay, so you're going to do 2, 3, 5, 6, 8, and 9 on your own. All right, let's look at factoring trinomials together. So to factor a trinomial of the form above, you must find 2 integers that multiply to c, which is, they're talking about c right here. They're going to multiply together to give you that number, but they have to add up to give you b, or the number in the middle. So let's look at this first one. And remember, this is where we have, I always just put my 2 parentheses down. So I'm looking for 2 numbers, or 2 factors, that multiply together to give me a plus 12, but add up to give me 7. So x squared, we can factor x squared into two x's. So we have an x here and an x here. X times x is x squared. So we've separated those. Now, I can see right here that the last term is being added, which means that my signs are going to be the same. Now, my signs are going to be the same, and in this case, I'm going to look here, and I can see that my signs are both going to be plus. If this were a minus, both of my signs would be the same, but they would be minus. Okay, so let's look at the factors of 12. I have 1 times 12. I have 2 times 6. And I have 3 times 4. Now here's what I do. I go ahead and add them. 1 times 12 is 13. 2 times 6 is 8. And 3 times 4 is 7. So I now know what two numbers multiply to give me 12 and add up to 7 is right here. So I can just go ahead and put in my 3 and my 4. And it doesn't matter which spot you put them in. Okay, we can check ourselves by we can FOIL. And that's when we multiply. So we have 12 times, x times x is x squared. I got that by multiplying the first two numbers. Then I multiply x times 4, and I get 4x. I multiply 3 times x, and I get 3x. And then I multiply 3 times 4 and get 12. And then I can combine these two, and I get x squared plus 7x plus 12. And it works. So then this is in fact the answer. All right, I'm going to do one more with you, and then you're going to do the rest on your own. So let's look at 16. 16 has a minus sign in it, which is not a big deal, but let's look how we would do this one. So I'm going to do my 2 parentheses still. And I can see that my a is squared, so I'm going to go ahead and write a in each one. Now, unlike the last one, I have a minus sign here. So that tells me that my two numbers are actually going to be opposite. So one is going to be minus and one is going to be plus. And I can go ahead and add that in there if I want to. So let's find the factors of negative 3. This is negative 3. The factors of negative 3 would be negative 1 times 3 or 1 times negative 3. Okay? Now I can still do my same technique. I can go back and add my factors. Negative 1 plus 3 is 2. And 1 plus negative 3 is negative 2. So which one works? I'm looking for negative 2. So the second one is what I'm going to use. Now, how do I decide where to put my numbers? We'll look at them. My 1 is positive. My 3 is negative. So it's going to be minus 3 plus 1. And that is how we do 1 with a subtraction sign. Okay? We're going to stop there and we'll continue tomorrow. Actually, go ahead. You're going to do up to 21. So don't worry about difference of squares. We're going to stop there.